بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، أما بعد. We stopped last week, Sunnah, وسنة تأجيل الفطر وتأخير السحور وقول ما ورد عند الفطر. That the Sunnah is to rush to break the fast when it's time to break the fast, when we're short of this time, to delay the suhoor, the early pre-dawn meal, to delay that, and to say the dua when we break the fast, the dua for breaking the fast. So the next portion is the hukm al-qada, the ruling on making up the days. The ruling on making up the days, how to make them up. Do we have to make them up if we miss a day? Do we have to make them up right away? هكذا قال رحمه الله وتتابع القضاء فورا وحرم تأخيره إلى آخر بلا عذر فإن فعل وجب مع القضاء إطعام مسكين عن كل يوم. The first part is, for example, I gotta make a day up, or a sister has to make a day up. So the question, do we have to make it up immediately after Ramadan, or do we have time to make it up? Do we have time to make it up? Or after their Eid, do we start immediately making up those days?
Inshallah, we should start immediately.
Immediately. طيب. What if I don't start immediately?
لا أدري.
طيب, that's what he says, فورا. To do it fawran, immediately, and let's just say you got more than one day to make up, that you start immediately and you make them all up directly, right? He says, يُبَادِرْ بِهِ وَيُتَابِعُ الْأَيَّامِ, and this is from the bab of rushing to the good deeds. It's obligatory fast, rushing to make it up, from rushing to make up the good deed. And also he says, إِفْرَاغًا لِذِمَّتِهِ, and in order to rush to clear your slate, let's say. Because when we got to make days up that they don't drop off, we had an excuse to break the fast, for example. I was traveling or something like that. A sister was on her menses, right? So it's an excuse to break the fast. But it remains on a person's neck till Yom Al-Qiyamah. Even if they don't make it up, because they owe that. You was traveling, you came back, you're not sick, right? You got time to make it up. You never do it, it's on the person's neck. So they say in order to remove that, quickly clear yourself of anything, then you make it up immediately. And let's say you have 3 days, you do all 3 days straight.
You say even sisters that's on the mens, gotta make them up?
Yeah. She got to make them up. She's not going to fast on Ramadan, but when Ramadan over,
right.
She's going to have any, how many days her menses is, usually 6 or 7, so she owes 7 days. Like the best thing, she makes them up all right away. Why? Because she owed those days, regardless. Even though she was on the menses, she has an excuse to break a fast. Like after her menses goes off, and it's after Ramadan, she got to make up those days. To make them up fawran, immediately. Right? He says, وَلَوْ أَخَّرَ الْقَضَاء جَازَ إِلَىٰ أَنْ لَا يَبْقَى عَلَى رَمَضَانَ الْقَادِمِ إِلَّا قَدْرَ الْأَيَّامِ الَّتِي عَلَيْهِ. It's permissible to delay them. It's permissible to delay them too, meaning you don't have to make them right up, right away. Meaning after the day of the Eid, you don't have to start on those 7 days or 3 days or how many days a person missed. Right? But they should. A person should. Why? Because that's rushing in order to clear yourself. Right? And it's rushing to the khair. But if a person decided they're going to space them out, for example, then they have that option until a certain point. It's permissible to delay them until a certain point when it becomes obligatory to fast. You with me? You can delay it. After the Eid, you can delay making the days up. Let's just say we owe 5 days. We miss 5 days on Ramadan. So that means after Ramadan, we got to make up 5 days. Tayyib. We can make them up right away, or we can space them out, right? Say we space them out. At some point, when we spacing them out, it's going to become obligatory to fast them now. Anybody know when? Huh?
Next Ramadan.
When the next Ramadan enters? Mm-hmm. How you going to fast when the next Ramadan enters?
That's what I'm saying. So it becomes
Before the
obligatory
2 days
before
before.
Huh?
Before the 2 days before.
It's 10 days. I think it's the 10 days before Ramadan.
Like I owe 5 days. Can I wait till the next Ramadan to fast them? No. But I owe 5. So that means when does it become obligatory for me to fast those 5?
Before 5 days before Ramadan.
5 days before Ramadan. When I only got enough time, when there's 5 more days left and another Ramadan is getting ready to start. Huh? Now it's obligatory, you gotta make them days up now.
So wouldn't it have to be like 7 days before though? Because what about that day or two that you shouldn't fast before Ramadan?
That day or two, sunnah. This is obligatory fast. You don't have a choice. This fast is obligatory. You don't have a choice in this. You gotta make them up. That's to avoid all of that, even the falling into that hadith. There you go, folder. And it clears you of everything. But a person might have been sick all year, on and off all year. They might have been sick until the last minute, right? Or they might have just been lunching, Sometimes it's like, I forgot I had days from last year. Sometimes people do that. When Sha'ban come around, people say, oh, I got days from last Ramadan I got to make up, right? So it says when it gets that close, you owe 5 days and there's 5 days left, now it's obligatory to fast them at that point. Tayyib. And Aisha, radiallahu anha, she used to make her days up in Sha'ban, the month before Ramadan, because she was busy throughout the year with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tayyib. So to make him up for he says, well, haruma ta'khiruhu ila akhar bila udhr. And it's haram and permissible to delay him to the next Ramadan without an excuse. Without an excuse, right? Another Ramadan comes, a person owed 5 days, and they didn't make up their 5 days, another Ramadan comes. Right? Haram, without an excuse. Without an excuse. Everybody with me? They don't have an excuse and the next Ramadan comes. Haram. Impermissible. Tayyib. They don't have an excuse. They have no excuse for making them up. That means they done missed the winter months when it was probably easier to do it with the short days. They missed all of that. And it's back around to the next Ramadan. Right? Tayyib. If a person does that, فإن فعل وجب مع القضاء إطعام مسكين عن كل يوم. If a person does that, they don't make up their days until the next Ramadan comes, then they still have to make the day up. They don't drop off because another Ramadan came. That means they still owe days from the previous Ramadan. But now with those days, they have to feed a person for each day. So if they owe 5 days, they have to make up 5 days. Then they have to feed 5 people, have to feed a person for each day. That's if what? That's if when. When does a person have to do that?
If they owe days from one Ramadan and then a whole nother Ramadan came around.
Mm-hmm.
So you still owe the one from, not the one that just went through, but the one before that.
Right. Everybody has to do that?
No, just the people who missed the days. So they got to feed.
The people who missed the days?
And fast.
If they didn't make those days up once the next one come around, so then you gotta make those days up and
is that an expiation?
You gotta be more specific though. So everybody who has to make days up.
And they go into the next Ramadan?
Everybody who has to make days up.
Those who missed them without an excuse.
Without an excuse, that's important.
Right. You have to feed.
They missed it without an excuse, they have to pay a fidya, a penalty. Along with fasting, they gotta make the day up anyway, but along with fasting, they have to feed one person for each day. So that means they would have to feed 5 people, but they without an excuse. Huh?
What constitutes as an excuse?
Sick. Maybe a person was sick. Maybe their sickness continued. Maybe they made up some of them and they got sick. Then they made up some of them and they got sick. Right? Ramadan came in, they still had 3 left. They didn't make them up yet. Right? They had an excuse. A person, they had their health the whole year. Right? They were fine. They just didn't make them up at all. They don't have an excuse, right? They weren't traveling, weren't in any situation. Nothing prohibited them from making them up. This person is the one who they still have to make it up, but they have to feed a person for each day. Follow.
So can the sick person still, even though like they might have a lifelong illness, and they still offer out?
If they have a terminal sickness, if they have a lifelong sickness, a terminal illness, then they don't have to fast in the first place. If they're not able to. But those sicknesses and stuff like that should be referred to the medical staff, doctors. If they say that sometimes people are sick, but they might still be able to fast. And maybe they have to take their medicine once a day or twice a day. And if they're able to do that, and the doctors, they say it's not going to be an issue with their health, it's not going to cause any problems, then they can still fast, even though they have a sickness. But if they go to the doctor and the doctor give them the word that, no, you're going to put yourself in a worse predicament, you're going to make it worse, possibly harm yourself even further, then they don't have to fast anyway, that person with the terminal illness, like that.
So what if a person neglect fasting for many Ramadans?
They neglect fasting for many Ramadans? Yeah, I need a whole Ramadan?
Like if
They didn't fast? They just wasn't fasting?
That's a question.
I mean, this is the general rule. The general rule is if you don't have an excuse, if you miss days during Ramadan and you don't have an excuse, you got to make the days up. They don't just drop off because just drop off. That's why they say fithematic. It's on you. It's on your neck until Yom Qiyamah. Just like what? A dame, a debt. You owe somebody something, you didn't pay them back. They didn't relieve you of the debt, right? But just because you haven't seen them, or just because he didn't say anything, or you don't have it, it doesn't just drop off, right?
So,
Shit.
Is there a certain supplication that you have to say when you make up these days?
Is there a certain dua that you say when you make up the days?
No.
No, there's no specific dua for making up days.
Like if you have to feed, the number of people the days that you've missed, is that just a lot just spiritual intention?
Meaning you couldn't fast if you had to feed people? Huh? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Yes. If you're not able to fast, then the alternative for the person who's not able, without the ability, sickness or something like that, then they have to feed a person for each day.
A person regularly fasts Mondays and Thursdays, all throughout the year. They regularly do this. They miss 6 days of Ramadan, and they have to make up those 6. Could they do those 6 on Mondays and Thursdays? But they would have to change the intent.
No doubt. No doubt. Monday and Thursday is one thing. Making up a Ramadan fast is another thing. You intend to fast on Mondays and Thursdays, that's Sunnah. He's going to talk about that today, inshallah. But if you want to make up your Ramadan, you can make it up on a Monday. You can make it up any day you want to make it up. But if you want to fast Ramadan, you need to make sure your intention is that you're making up a day for Ramadan.
So, generally speaking, I remember it was a good debate with Nasruddin al-Albani, rahimahullah, and Abdul Muhsin al-Abad. They was talking about fasting on Saturdays, was it? Yeah. So, this would be an exception to that rule, the Ramadan. You would be able to fast Friday, Saturday, Sunday consecutively.
We're going to get to that.
Gotcha.
inshallah. طيب وإن مات المفرد ولو قبل آخر أطعم عنه كذلك من رأس ماله ولا يصام وإن كان على الميت نذر من حج أو صوم أو صلاة أو نحوها صن لوليه قضاؤه مع تركة ومع تركة يجب لا مباشرة ولي. طيب, the person who dies, they had days to make up from Ramadan and they died before the next Ramadan. طيب, they had days to make up for Ramadan and they died before the next Ramadan. These are two people. This is one case. طيب. So the person who dies, they're either two types of people. Either one, and he explains it, إذا مات عليه القضاء فإن كان غير مفرط. The first person, they died before they could make their days up, but they weren't negligent. It's not like they had the opportunity to make it up. Right? It's the that they weren't able to fast on Ramadan. And then after Ramadan, the sickness continued. They were still sick after Ramadan, so they couldn't fast. Right? And to the point where they died. So let's just say, for example, they owed 5 days. Right? They were sick during Ramadan. They had to break their fast 5 days. After Ramadan, the sickness continued. Right? How many days they owe?
35. Well, whatever.
How many days they owe?
Ramadan plus 5.
5. They owe 5. Right? They fasted Ramadan, but they missed 5 days.
They
fasted, but they missed 5 days. After Ramadan, they still owe 5. Right? So before the next Ramadan, they died. How many days did they owe? They owe 5 days, right? This is the first person. When this happens to this person, فَلَا شَيْءَ عَلَيْهِ. There's nothing upon them. Nothing. They didn't have the opportunity to make them up. They weren't negligent making them up. They couldn't fast, and they died before they were able to recover and fast again, so there's no problem. There's nothing on that person. طيب, the second person. أما إذا لم يكن له عذر في التأخير ومات قبل أن يقضي فإن كان أتى عليه رمضان آخر ولم يقضي فإنه يطعم عنه من تركته عنه ولا يقضى عنه. The second person did the same thing. They owed 5 days, right? They were sick during Ramadan, right? Now after Ramadan they healed up, they're good, right? They got the time to make it. They can make it up. You with me? They die. Anything happens. They ain't sick or nothing. They might die in a car crash, anything. Boom, they die and they owed how many?
5 days.
5 days. Tayyam.
Huh?
This is the second person. Huh?
Say it again.
The first person, they were sick, they owed 5 days. After Ramadan, they were still sick, they could never make it up, and they died.
Wouldn't it be exempt?
Yes, that person is exempt.
Oh.
We talking about the second person. They were sick 5 days during Ramadan. After Ramadan, they healed up. They were fine, where they could fast again. Right? When they had the ability to fast, they didn't fast. Next thing you know, they died. Having the ability to fast, then that's what is still on them. This person,
Excuse me. What
hold on. Let me finish the fiqh. This person, they had the ability to fast, they didn't fast, and they died. This person, he says, the wali is to feed on his behalf 5 people for those 5 days. From his wealth that he left behind. From the wealth that he left behind, is to take from that wealth that he left behind the amount needed to feed 5 people for those 5 days.
As if it were a debt.
Right, as if it were a debt, right? You don't fast for them now. Nobody comes and fasts for the person that died. Clear? You can't come and fast for him, all right? You take from his wealth that he left behind for those 5 days that he missed, and he had the opportunity to fast, and he didn't fast, and he died, or she died. You take from their wealth and you feed, and you don't fast on their behalf. لأنما وجب بأصل الشرع على مذهب لا تدخل النيابة. Because that fast is obligatory, right? And 5 days are Ramadan, fast Ramadan. They're obligatory days. Things that are obligatory from the religion, right? They say, لا تدخل النيابة. People can't just come in and say, I'm a fast Ramadan days for you, cool. You with me? You know what? I got salat, right? Salat is obligatory from the door. The 5 salawat are obligatory. You can't just come in and say, I'm going to just pray for, she's sick, so I'm going to just pray my wife's salat because she's not really feeling good today. Even if we're sick, it's a way to pray when we're sick, right? This fast is an obligatory fast that a person can't come and just fast it for you, right? So they say that he pays from that person's wealth and for those 5 days, the wali, the wada, the one who inherits from him, the one who would inherit from him, takes from his wealth or her wealth and pays the 5 days as if they were feeding the person. Yes?
So the question here would be, okay, I owe 5 days, that's the way you want. But the thing I'm trying to figure out, how would you know how many days a person owes?
That's just saying nothing. For
Okay,
example,
that's all.
it's your wife.
No, okay.
Like you might know how many days your wife
probably
owes.
was some way.
Right? Anybody, it could be a man. Sometimes, you know, brothers talk. I stole these 3 days. Remember I was traveling?
Right, okay.
Sometimes you know.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know, that's a whole different.
Right.
But if we know, right? Maybe, for example, especially here it says the wali. So say, for example, a person is traveling with their children, right? We all broke fast. None of us fasted when we were traveling. Those whole 4 days, none of us fasted. So I know we all owe 4. I know he never made them up, she never made them up. So you kind of know, yo, right? That's you know it. If you don't know it, then it's a whole different situation.
Couple questions, Shay. Okay. The second guy that dies, the second man that dies, and he had the ability, but he didn't do it and he dies before, so he still owed him the attached to his neck.
Right.
What if he had the intention to fast, but he just never got around to it? It still applies. That is attached to him. That's the first question. The second question is, if he dies in that state, is he sinful? And does somebody feeding people on his behalf, does that absolve him of the sin?
Number one, it's not permissible to delay the fast. Well, this is number one. He has the ability to delay the fast. He can delay it, right? What's the best thing to do?
Not the
Forward. That clear, you clear. You don't have nothing to worry about. But when you delay it, what you can do, now you got other things coming into play. Now anything happens, you had the ability to fast and you didn't. Now, it only becomes obligatory when he gets all the way down to the next Ramadan and it's like 5 days left. Now you gotta fast him. But all of those times, he could have delayed it. So while he's delaying it, he does what? He dies. Allah calls him back. Tayyib. What happened in 5 days? Did he have the ability to make the 5 days up?
Yes.
He had the ability. Did he make them up? No. Tayyib. Somebody feeds on his behalf
I'm not sure.
from the money, from his wealth.
Right.
Hold on, the second
Hold on, there was another part.
No, listen.
There was another part, right?
Yes.
No,
That was
listen.
it?
He's-
No, that's another part.
Hold on.
I know it said the intent. You said your brother made an intent, and just before the intent, he passes away.
And did it.
He
didn't
just
do
cleared
it.
it.
Like, he had the intent. Yeah, the intention is there. I'm gonna make my days up, but I'm delaying it. My intention is to delay the days.
What if he didn't want to delay it, and he had the intent, but the next day, he just killed dude?
That's a different. That's the
guy.
first person.
That's the
I'm
first
not
person.
sure.
He didn't
That's the
have a
first person. He didn't have a chance.
Alright.
If you don't have a chance, one thing. This second person, he had the chance to fast and he didn't fast. He had the chance to make it up and he didn't make it up. Tell you, he can do that. Islam, he has the option to do that. But there's some other things going to be attached with that if everything don't go smooth. You with me?
Yeah, you got the second part, Shay?
The second part was what?
The second part was, if he dies in that state, is he sinful? And if the people pay some, or feed people, 5 people for him, does that absolve him of the sin?
Is he sinful? Allahu Akbar.
Right. You know what I'm
It's hard to
saying?
say if he's sinful because he's not necessarily doing something that's haram. It's not like he was down to those.
Right.
It's
So
not-
he didn't die with it being
You know,
obligatory.
he died and he was in the area where he was okay.
Right.
It is okay. To delay it is fine. You can do that. And he died in the area of delaying it. It wasn't next Ramadan. The next Ramadan didn't come in. He had plenty of time. Maybe he might have had 6 more months. But Qadarullah ma shafa'a. Right? So Allah alam if he's sinful. And the second part is connected to the first part. Like, that's the first
Like you
person
said,
that
the
died.
person that feed for him, though, does that absolve him of that, though?
If it's a sin. I can't say if it's a sin or not.
But does it cover them fasts?
That's what it's for. Yeah, the feeding is to
covers
cover
that.
his neck for the fasting.
Being a sin is something different.
The sin is something different. Either way, you gotta fast it. The fasting has to be covered either way.
But it's covered once they feed.
Right, that's what the feeding is for. Like, that's the one who died. He died with an obligatory fast in Ramadan. The second person is a person, they died and it wasn't a fast from Ramadan, but it's obligatory fast. What's the other fast that's obligatory that's not from Ramadan?
Is it Thursday and what's the other day?
Sunnah, Thursday, Monday and Thursday.
Monday and
Sunnah.
Thursday.
Another fast outside of Ramadan. Other fast Monday and Thursdays. Obligatory.
Fast of David.
Obligatory?
Obligatory. Wajib.
Is it the fast of David?
La, that's Sunnah. And we know obligatory means if you don't do it, then Allah will punish you. It's punishable when you don't do it. So if you don't fast Ramadan, you don't have no excuse. That's sinful.
Oh, I need to answer.
Another fast, not from Ramadan, obligatory. If a person don't do it, they sinful. Is this the second person? Nobody got it?
I need an answer to that.
Huh?
What about constant travel?
Say it again.
What about constant travel?
A constant traveler.
Who's like always traveling? Like,
Nah. Let's just say like a truck driver.
right.
Nah.
He's just fasting. If you're going to always go on the road, right?
That's a whole different. That's a fast that's obligatory. That's not from Ramadan. Huh? Is when a person.
Well, I think her question was separate from.
Yeah, that's separate. Her question was a little different. That's not this. Her question is different. The fast outside of Ramadan,
Not trying to cheat.
right? Huh?
The fast of an oath.
Yeah, you are oath. A person makes an oath. Where they say, for example,
Taught
Yeah.
at Rodney Brown.
a person says, for example, they swear by Allah, they make an oath to Allah. Say, Allah, give me this job, lillah. I'm going to fast for Allah 3 days if Allah give me this job. If Allah bless me with this money, I'm fasting 10 days straight. And it happens, whatever they said is obligatory now. Takes the ruling of, it's obligatory.
It's heavy.
You with me? If Allah bring me the system in, subhanAllah, I'm fasting Mondays and Thursdays for the next 2 months. They make it, it's not, those fast, or they might say, I'm going to fast every Wednesday, whatever they say, whatever it is not obligatory from the origin of the religion, like Ramadan
But
is.
for the oath,
They made it obligatory on themselves when they did that. They make an oath like that, and then they die before they fulfill the oath. Drop off, khalas. Huh?
Still the same, right?
Huh? طيب إن كان على الميت نذر. Somebody might do that for Hajj. They might do that for fasting. They might make an oath like that for Salah. They might do that for Umrah. It says وَنَحْوِ السُنَّةِ لِوَلِيِّهِ قَضَاؤُهُ وَمَا تَرِكَ يَجِبْ. It says if a person does this, either number one, they died and they made a fast. They said, I'm going to fast 3 days if Allah does such and such and it happens. He says, فَإِنْ كَانَ لَهُ تَرِكَ فَإِنَّهُ يُؤْخَذْ مِنْ تَرِكَتِهِ وَيُدْفَعْ لِمَنْ يَصُومُ عَنْهُ. He dies before he can make up that fast for the oath, right? They say what happens? It's taken from his wealth that he left behind, and somebody is paid to do it. He might have did that for Hajj. It's taken from his money. Let's just say he did it for Hajj. You're going to take from his money for somebody to make Hajj for him. You with me? You're going to take from the money, the wealth he left behind, take from that, and somebody's going to make Hajj for him. The wali.
Again, as if it was a debt, right?
Right. It is a debt to Allah. It's a debt to Allah. Right? Same thing if he did it for Umrah or for fasting the same way. It says, وَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ تَرِكًا. But what if he didn't leave any money behind? So, it says, your son, لِوَلِيِّهِ أَنْ يَفْعَلُ النَّذَرِ عَنْهُ إِنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُبْرِئَ ذِمَّتَهُ. It's recommended for the wali, meaning one of the person that inherits from him. It's recommended. You don't have to do it. But maybe the wali, like this real life, it might be a real close relative. It could be one of your kids, but a kid, it could be a parent, right? They know they had that nether and they died and they didn't get to do it. They don't have any money left. In this case, they say, okay, I'm going to do it for him in his place to remove that burden from him Yom Qiyamah. They don't have any money to take from. They don't have any money to take from. You with me? The first one they got money to take from, we take from the money, and the person does it, the wali does it. And it doesn't have to be the wali or the inheritor. It doesn't have to be the inheritor that does it. Anybody can do it, but it's going to be taken from his money, right? The closer the better, though. If it was the wali, somebody that inherits from him, that would be better. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم said, من مات وعليه الصيام صام عنه وليه. Whoever dies and he owed a fast, then the wali fast in his place. And in another narration it says, Psalm never, an oath, a fast according to an oath. طيب, it says, وَلَا مُبَاشَرَةُ الْوَلِي, meaning it's not a necessity that it is the wali that does it, right? It's not a necessity that it's the wali that does it, but the wali might appoint somebody. Because that's what it says. Let's say his son dies, and he owes a fast, right? So who can make it up? His father, right? But his father might be too old to fast. In that case, his father can designate somebody else to fast on behalf of his son, like that. Tayyib. Next, we move to all of those fasts that we were just discussing, that everybody mentioned. The sunnah fast. يسن صوم أيام البيض والخميس والاثنين وستة من شوال وشهر المحرم وآكده العاشر ثم التاسع وتسعة ذي الحجة وآكده يوم عرفة لغير حاج بها وأفضل الصيام صوم يوم فطر يوم. So now he goes into the sunnah fast, the fasts that are recommended. These are not obligatory. None of these fasts here are obligatory. We're moving outside of the fast of Ramadan now, right? And it says, from the encouragement in Islam for a person to increase in good deeds, to increase the good deeds. And this comes in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, في الحديث القدسي, أن الله جل وعلا يقول ما تقرب إلي عبدي بشيء أحب إلي مما افترضت عليه. That a person, they can't get closer. There's nothing you can do to get closer than Allah, right? To get closer to Allah. There's nothing above the obligatory actions that you can do. Meaning the obligatory actions are what get you the closest to Allah Jalla. These are the things that get us closest to Allah Jalla. So the 5 salawat are the things that are going to get us the closest to Allah Jalla. You with me? Does the Taraweeh get us closer to Allah? Does it get us close to Allah? The Taraweeh?
Yes.
It gets you closer.
It gets you close, but here you are. Because Allah said in the Hadith Qudsi, He said, مَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي. He can't get that close. The closest he comes is by doing the things that I made obligatory on him to do. The obligatory things. So this is the khata, this is the mistake from the people who don't pray the 5 salawat, then they come to Taraweeh. They flipped it. They're doing the Taraweeh, which is optional, and they're not praying 5 times a day. You with me? You would have been better off praying your 5, huh? And if you had the ability, then you pray Taraweeh. If you don't have the ability, alhamdulillah. Taraweeh is optional. Even though it's benefit in it, the Taraweeh doesn't supersede the 5 prayers. And that's what the hadith says. مَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُ عَلَيْهِ. That a slave doesn't come closer to me with anything more beloved to me than the things that I made obligatory on him. Then Allah said, وَمَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ. And my slave continues to get closer to me by doing actions of voluntary actions, until I love him. Showing that, this hadith shows that we should try to do as many voluntary actions as possible. But those voluntary actions come after the obligatory. So these fasts here, even in the book, in this chapter, this book, they're mentioned after Ramadan. These are mentioned after the fast of Ramadan. Even though they're important, they don't hold as much weight as the fast of Ramadan. The first one, you send Somu Ayyam al-Bid. Som Ayyam al-Bid. The Sunnah is recommended to fast what they call the white days. Does anybody know the white days? The white days.
The white days or the white nights?
Ayyam al-Bid, white days. You can't fast at night.
Oh, I mean the full moon. 13th, 14th, 15th?
13th, 14th, 15th. Or what
On the
month?
lunar calendar.
On the what?
The lunar calendar.
Tayyib. The 13th and 14th and 15th of every month on the Islamic calendar, the calendar that we use, Ramadan, Sha'ban, Shawwal, right? Not on January, February, and March. That's not the calendar we use for these ahkam. None of these rulings are connected to the calendar from January to December. These rulings are connected to the calendar from Muharram to Dhul Hijjah. So the 13th and 14th and 15th of on the Islamic calendar, and on those days, that's when the full moon is. The full moon happens on the 13th, 14th, and 15th, the middle of the month. So it's the sunnah to fast those days every month on the Islamic calendar. If a person wanted to, they could fast the 13th, 14th, 15th every month. And then where people actually practice this, they would, it's known, people are looking for the moon. People don't only look for the moon during Ramadan. You know what I'm saying? People are looking for the moon for other things. They want to know when is the 13th and 14th and 15th of the month. You with me? Even though the moon is going to be full, right? People are looking for the moon. There's other things attached to the moon sighting. Ramadan is attached to it, but there's other things attached to it. The start of Ramadan is attached to it, and the end of Ramadan. But there's 11 more months. And there's other fasts that we want to see in other months. So you have to know when does the month start, so you can know which day is falling on, so you can get the reward for that fast. This fast is monthly, and this next fast is weekly. ثانيا الخميس والاثنين, fasting every Monday and Thursday. Every Monday and Thursday is the sunnah of the fast. As the Prophet ﷺ said, تعرض الأعمال يوم الاثنين والخميس فأحب أن يعرض عملي وأنا صائم. That the actions are presented to Allah Jalla wa'ala on Thursdays, Mondays and Thursdays. All of our actions are presented to Allah on Mondays and Thursdays. And he said, I like to fast when my actions are being presented to Allah Jalla wa'ala. I like to be fasting when that happens. طيب, the third one, 10 min Shawwal, 6 days of Shawwal. Shawwal is when? The month after Ramadan. The month after Ramadan. And the reward of fasting Ramadan and then fasting the 6 days of Shawwal, as the Prophet ﷺ said, it's like you fasted a whole year just for fasting 36 days. So for fasting 36 days, 35, 36 days, the reward is as if we fasted an entire year. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Min sama Ramadan thumma atba'ahu sittin min Shawwal kana kasiyam ad-dahr." It is like whoever fasts Ramadan and then they fasted 6 days of Shawwal, it is as if they fasted an entire year. How does that happen? How is it like you fasted a whole year if you fasted 36 days? Huh? In the Sana, عشر شهر. We know it's 12 months in a year. طيب, والحسنة بعشر أمثالها. That one deed that Allah multiplies it, the reward to make it how many? 10. Allah increases the reward to make it 10. One good deed, right? Allah increases it to make it 10. So, if Ramadan is 30 days, that's a big joint. That's a beetle. If Ramadan is 30 days, right? Let's say 30 times 10. Each day is 10. One day we fast, Allah multiplies that reward by 10. طيب? That's 300. طيب. 6 days from Shawwal. One day is 10. So 6 days is 60. 360 days for how many days? For 35 or 36 days. Walhamdulillah. Islam is a ni'mah. 360 days for fasting. 35 was 36 days. طيب رابعا شهر المحرم, fasting during the month of Muharram. وآكده العاشر ثم التاسع. And the more emphasized day is the 10th of Muharram. That's why it's important to know the Islamic months. If we don't know the Islamic months, we don't know when this day is coming. Yom Ashura. Yom Ashura comes in the first month on the Islamic calendar, Muharram. And the day is the 10th, and thumma the 9th. Which one is more important? Liqawli sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sumu tasi' wal ashir wa khalif wal yahud. He said, fast the 9th and the 10th and be different from the Jews, because the Jews, they used to fast the 10th only. They used to fast on the 10th only. So we fast the 9th and the 10th to differ from the Jews. Or the 9th, or you can fast the day before with the 10th, which will be the 9th and the 10th. Or you can fast the day after, which is the 10th and the 11th, right? And that's a whole issue of which one is better to do. Should you do the one before or the one after? Should you do all three? Should you do just one? That's a whole discussion.
That was the fast of Musa,
Hey, the fast of Musa, or the day, that issue with Musa,
yes.
right? That they found the Jews fasting when they went to Medina. Tayyib, Yom Ashura. The fifth one, all of these are voluntary. Tis'id dhil-hijjah. Fasting, we say, every year it comes around, dhil-hijjah, when the people go to make hajj, right? And we say the 10 days of dhil-hijjah coming up. Any action done in those days, right? Righteous actions, fast in those days. Even though it's the 10th day, we don't fast. Because the 10th day of dhil-hijjah is one of the prohibited days of fasting. So we say the 10 days of dhil-hijjah, but we only can fast 9 of them. We only can fast 9 of them. Because the 10th day is Eid. We don't fast from the Eid. Tayyib. The 9 days of dhil-hijjah. So those 9 days, we should fast. You don't have to fast. Doesn't necessarily, but it's sunnah to fast during those 9 days. But not the 10th. Not the 10th day. The 10th day is their Eid. Tayyib. The 6th fast, that is voluntary. أَكَدُهُ يَوْمُ عَرَفَةٍ لِغَيْرِ حَاجٍ. Those 9 days from dhil-hijjah, the most emphasized day is the day that the people making hajj are on Arafat. When they're on Arafat, standing on Arafat all day, that's the most emphasized day that we fast. For the people that are not making hajj. So the people that are making hajj, they shouldn't fast. You make hajj? Who made hajj? You make hajj? Anybody make hajj? No? Inshallah. Tayyib. Hajj, Yom Arafat. It's hot. You're there from, depends on what time your group gets there, but you're going to be there all day. It's hot. You're there, you're talking about sitting in one area. Once it's time, you're going to be there, that's just from Dhuhr to Maghrib, just making dua. From Dhuhr to Maghrib. All day. You need to be able to stay awake. You need to be able to have energy enough to sustain. You don't want to miss that. That's not the day that you want to miss. Hajj is Arafah. That's the day. So imagine a fasting person, how they're going to, let's say, cripple themselves from being able to benefit that day, right? You know, you fast, you're weak, you can't really move and do what you want to do. You can't remember stuff sometimes. Everybody's different. So they say it's recommended that the people making Hajj don't fast that day. People making Hajj on Arafah. But the people that are not making Hajj, that they should fast that day, Yom Arafah. That's the 6th one. Tayyib. The 7th one, وَأَفْضَلُ الصِّيَامِ صَوْمُ Yom وَفِطْرُ Yom, which is the fast of Dawood. The best voluntary fast is the fast of Dawood alayhi salam. كَانَ يَصُومُ يَوْمًا وَيُفْطِرُ يَوْمًا. He would fast one day, and then he wouldn't fast, and he would fast. So he would fast every other day. And there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better that a person can do better than that. That's the best fast. As the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ أَحَبَّ الصِّيَامِ إِلَى اللَّهِ صِيَامُ Dawood. The Prophet ﷺ said, the most beloved fast to Allah is the fast of Dawood. So there is no fast better than the fast of Dawood alayhi salam.
Now, the wording of that, that there is no fast better than that, is that a, what word can I use? Is that a recommendation not to do more? You understand? Like if a person say, well, I'm going to do 3, then take one off.
That talks about that.
Right. That's why I'm asking.
He said, I can do more. No,
Right.
you can't do more.
Gotcha.
This is the guidance of the Prophet. We was talking about, that was up to prison. We was talking about going overboard. How do you know something is overboard? How do we know if somebody goes overboard in a religion?
If it's not in accord with the Sunnah.
Exactly. The Quran and the Sunnah gives us the limit. When a person tries to go beyond that, you're going past the limit. You got to come back down. If the man wanted to say, I can do strong, I'm strong enough to do more than every other day. Prophet ﷺ said, the most beloved fast to Allah is the fast of Dawood. There's no going above that. You got to stay in the limits. Right? طيب, that was the seventh one. Now, the days that is disliked to fast, there's some disliked days, and then there's some days that are haram, impermissible to fast. So he starts off with the ones that are disliked. I'm sorry, he starts off with the ones that are haram. They're all in the same qit'a. The days that we don't fast. Yom Eid al-Fitr wa Yom Eid al-Adha. Neither one of their Eids. Not the first Eid, Ramadan, not the second Eid, for Hajj. No Eid, day of Eid, do we fast?
Isn't Friday considered it?
Jade.
So no fast for Friday, right?
We're going to get to that. Inshallah. طيب. First, the Yom al-Eid wa Yom al-Adha. وأيام التشريق لغير الحاج الذي لا يجد هدي التمتع. The two Eids and the days of Tashriq on Hajj, when the people are staying up in Mina, that they don't fast. Right? Two Eids, we got two Eids we know. And then the third, the Ayyam al-Tashriq. The Ayyam al-Tashriq. Days during the Hajj when the people are staying on Mina, that they don't fast on those days. Clear? طيب. The days that are disliked to fast. 5. Okay? Or the dislike, that's not, because some of them are not just days, but the fast, the voluntary fast that are disliked. Right? وَقُرِ إِفْرَادُ Rajab. To single out the month, and this again, if we don't know the months on the Islamic calendar, none of this means anything. Rajab is a month on the Islamic calendar. Some people, they take and they single out Rajab and fast the whole Rajab. Right? إذا خصه بالصيام. Right? لأنه لم يرد في تخصيصه دليل. There's no dalil saying that you should fast, single out the month specifically Rajab to fast that time. And he says, وَكَانُوا فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ يُعَظِّمُونَهُ شَهْرَ رَجَبٍ وَيُحْدِثُونَ فِيهِ بِدْعًا.
Would that be an example like what he just was talking about? Kind of going overboard, like affect the whole month.
The whole month of Rajab. They don't break it up at all. Now, let's say for a person that you said earlier, say for a person fasts every Monday and Thursday. Say a person, he fasts every Monday and Thursday, and he fasts the 3 white days every month. Then when Rajab comes around, he keeps his normal pattern. He don't have to break his pattern because it's Rajab. You understand what I'm saying? You with me? He fasts Mondays and Thursdays all year. Ramadan, he fasts Ramadan. After Ramadan, he goes back to his Mondays and Thursdays. But she goes back to her Mondays and Thursdays. When Rajab comes that month, they don't have to stop because it's Rajab and they try not to fall into something. They keep their normal pattern. To single out Rajab, which before Islam, that was a month that the people used to glorify. And they would do all types of different worship during that month.
Is it a particular set of people that do that as far as fasting Rajab?
With a name, do they
like
have
a particular,
like
I mean,
a
like in theory, like
not that I know of. I don't know if it's a
but
specific group
so
of
anybody,
people,
so everybody and anybody gets to say.
Yeah,
it's
some
Rajab
people do it.
fast. Okay.
I don't know if there's a specific name of, that group of people. طيب, the second one, disliked. يوم الجمعة لأنه صح الحديث في النهي عن صيامها, because there's a hadith prohibiting the fasting on يوم الجمعة. لأنه يوم العيد الأسبوع, because it's the weekly Eid. Called the weekly Eid. It's not the Eid al-Fitr and the Eid al-Adha. It's not the Eid for Ramadan or the Eid for Hajj. The weekly Eid. وصوم الجهل النهي عن ذلك. For the prohibition on that, لا يصومن أحدكم يوم الجمعة إلا يوم قبله أو بعده, except that they fast the day with it, the day before it, or the day after it together. Just to single out Jum'ah by itself is disliked. The third one, Yom HaShek. Yom HaShek. I remember Yom HaShek. Yom HaShek came at the beginning of Ramadan, the beginning of the sighting of the moon. Remember we went outside and we didn't see the moon? We couldn't see it. It was foggy. The beginning of Ramadan, we looking for the moon. It was foggy. We couldn't see if the moon was there or not. What we do?
Be different.
They differ, but
Complete the 30th.
right. The early men will say complete the 30th day means you don't fast the day of doubt. It's the doubt. It's doubtful. Some early men fast that day of doubt. So they say it's disliked to fast that day of doubt. Yom HaShek. Some say that you don't fast it at all, right? The ones who say they don't fast it at all, then it's disliked. But the ones who fast it, they're doing it ihtiyatan, just in case it's Ramadan.
Right. I mean, not to say, I don't want to say which is the stronger position, but for the one who says, I'd rather have an extra day than to miss a day, right? That would be the latter.
Jade. I'd rather have an extra day this day. Tell you. If we didn't have a hadith saying, Ammar bin Yasir radiallahu anhu, الذي يصوم يوم الذي يشك فيه فقد عصى أبا القاسم صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Ammar, he said, whoever fasts that day of doubt, then he has disobeyed the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's the one that the early men who say don't do it, they use that one of their proofs that they use.
But shouldn't the fastest be, if not 29, it should be 30 days done?
Yeah.
Okay, so that the extra day is
No,
beyond
it's not extra. They're going to look for the
He's talking
moon
about before.
before Ramadan. They're going to look for the moon and
Right,
it's
but
cloudy.
would that be an extra day if they did fast?
Possibly.
So that'd be 31 days, right?
Yeah, but then in that case it wouldn't count. But you wouldn't know until the end of Ramadan anyway.
Also be shorter.
You with me?
30 days, that's it.
Yeah, 30 days is it, but you wouldn't know that until the end.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that.
You wouldn't know that until the end. And that's what they're saying. We fast when it's certainty. Huh?
Sister online says she's confused. Her name is
Shannon Sumaya Lee. She confused.
About what?
She don't say.
his answer.
Confused about what?
Tell her she need to say she.
Yeah, she got to specify what she's confused about. If you're talking about the day of doubt, then
You should keep pronounce that again now.
Shek, the day of doubt, which was in the beginning when we went to look for the moon to start fasting during Ramadan. We went outside to look wherever we were. People were going to spot the moon. And when they went to look, it was cloudy.
She said that's if the moon isn't sighted on the 29th of
I'm not sure I
Shaban.
understand now. I didn't understand you in the beginning.
Right.
It was the beginning of
The beginning of Ramadan, we go to sight the moon.
I thought it was the end of Ramadan you were saying that.
No, we go to sight the moon, and when we go to sight the moon, it's cloudy outside. Smoke, clouds, whatever it is, dusty, you can't see. According to the author, right, we fast. That's one position. The early men differ. Some early men say you fast, just in case tomorrow is Ramadan, right? The other scholars, they say, no, don't fast, it's doubt. You don't know if it's Ramadan or not. That's a day of doubt. Don't fast on the day of doubt. You with me? So they say that it's disliked to fast on that day of doubt. Okay? You don't know if it's Ramadan or not, so you shouldn't fast that day.
Okay.
Fadl.
If you take a position according to the holy man, do you stay with that position or
Do you have to stay with
do
it?
you have to stay with this?
Not necessarily. You might see it to be strong, and in 6 months, you look back and find some new information and say, that's not as strong as I thought it was. That happens a whole lot. When you start really, really looking into issues and say, whoa.
But within that, you have to be of a certain level, right? To really, because I mean, the average, the layman Muslim is not really, you know what I'm saying?
Please don't say layman, man. I'm sorry. I don't want that, man. The regular Muslim, man.
Yeah,
Regular Muslim.
the average Muslim, is that a better term?
No.
No?
We regular Muslim, regular person is minding their business, living their life, right?
The one who's not a student of knowledge.
Nah. It's possible the regular person, right? That's a lot of stuff translated. So they might read a book now from Sheikh Fulan, right? And the Sheikh brings this position. Oh, okay, it's clear. They another book translated in 6 months, or they read another book and they see that the statements differ between two scholars. They both have their proof, and they might look at it in English and say, well, dang, this one just seems stronger to me. They're not really doing, it's not really ijtihad like that. They just following the statement of a scholar. It's not really, there's no harm in it. It's not like you can't change it. You said that you fasted. I saw something else. I think this one is stronger. It's really that simple. Tayyib. The fourth time that is disliked to fast, وَكُلُّ عِيد لِلْكُفَّارِ. Every Eid for the disbelievers, for the non-Muslims, every Eid that they have is disliked to intentionally fast on that day. To intentionally fast on a day that the non-Muslims are celebrating one of their holidays. To intentionally fast on that day. This is ta'aleem and li'eedihim, because fasting on that day is glorification of that day. This is a serious day that we give importance to. Ayyam Ramadan, the days of Ramadan are important days. All these days are important. Mondays and Thursdays, Allah looks at our actions. It's a serious day. I want to be fasting. The Prophet said, I want to be fasting when Allah is looking at my actions. So he says, just like the intentionally, what if a person fasts on the 3 days every month, and they have one of those 3 days is their Eid? You with me?
Kufar Eid?
Yes. It's their Eid.
It's permissible because he fasted all the time.
That's his norm.
do it.
That's his
He always do
norm.
it, right? He always do it.
You with me? If it's the norm, that's your norm, you don't have to break it because something comes up. As long as it's your norm. If you normally fast the 3 white days, and then on the 3 white days, it happens to be one of their holidays, like you can still continue fasting your normal sunnah fast.
Sheikh, what about the opposite of, I know, speaking, prison? One of the things that
Prison,
the brothers,
you said?
in prison,
Uh-huh.
one of the things that the brothers used to do during times like Christmas
Mhm.
and Thanksgiving and things like that, they would fast in opposition as not to go to the chow hall and eat the turkey, or this what they would do to say, I don't want to go down there because, you know, they're festive, so on this day, I'm going to fast and stay in myself. Because that was their intent, not as it's really like a protest. Or, you see what I'm saying? It's the opposite.
They intentionally fast on that day?
They
That's a
intentionally fast.
misunderstanding, though. That's a misunderstanding on why you're fasting. All right, I don't know the situation. They're going to make them go down there and eat?
No, they don't make them go eat, no.
So you don't have to fast then.
Yeah.
Really, you don't. In order to like, if you want to do that, you don't want to go down there. You don't have to go then.
Right,
If you don't go, they don't necessitate you. You got to fast on that day.
right.
Do it.
No. But you know Thanksgiving is Thursday.
If that's your norm, that's your norm. Don't try to do anything outside of your norm.
Right.
Do what's normal for you. If you fast on Mondays and Thursdays, do your Mondays and Thursdays. If Thanksgiving on a Thursday, alhamdulillah. You fast Monday and Thursdays anyway. To go out your way and try to make something fit,
Right.
you enter into a gray area.
Do you mean that though? Like it's normal? Cause all right, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I'll be in prison. Do you not eat or do you go eat? 'Cause you don't care if it's Thanksgiving or not. You hungry? You going to eat, right?
Huh?
You said no. Cause
You said it's Thanksgiving,
you said
regardless if it's
Thanksgiving,
Thursday,
regardless,
Thanksgiving or not.
you
You're going
gotta
to
go
eat,
eat.
unless it's a
You gonna go
specific.
eat.
Is it a specific?
You're not. It's not
festival
like
for it?
you're partaking that because you're in prison.
They know they're gonna be festive.
Right, it's festive for
So it
them.
could almost
It's
be
for them, but
celebrate.
that don't have no
Right,
part.
like
That don't have nothing to do with you.
You
Don't
can
do
get
it.
caught up at a table and, you know, you sitting there, and they usually do 4, and they get to holding hands, and you sitting there like, you know,
Hey,
you're just
hold
trying
nobody's
to
hand.
eat your meal, and it's like,
Now, I mean, if you
they're
can avoid it
celebrating.
and you don't have to go there, and you can still now, there's gonna be that's a situation that's like you don't have to starve yourself. You don't want to starve yourself, and at the same time, if you can eat without going and enjoying with their celebration, that's the best thing to do.
Right.
Now, if they don't give you no option, y'all got to eat at this time, or there's gonna be no eating, then you know, fear Allah to the best of your ability. Allah. Tayyib. The last one that's mentioned as disliked is the one that was mentioned in the class. وَتَقَدُّمْ رَمَضَانْ بِيَوْمٍ أَوْ يَوْمَيْنِ. To fast before Ramadan starts, to fast the day before Ramadan or 2 days before Ramadan, due to the prohibition in the hadith, لَا تَقَدَّمُوا رَمَضَانْ بِيَوْمٍ وَلَا يَوْمَيْنِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, don't precede Ramadan, don't fast the day before Ramadan or even 2 days before it. That this is disliked to do. It's disliked. But all of these things, all of those that were mentioned, right? He says at the end, مَا لَمْ يُوَافِقْ عَادَةً فِي الْكُلِّ. As long as you're keeping on your normal adas, your pattern, which you normally do. If it falls on one of those days that is disliked, then it's no problem. Not on the days that is haram, the Eid, if it falls on one of those dislikes, the celebration from the day the non-Muslims, if it falls on the Jummah, if it falls on any of those days, but that's what you normally do, then it doesn't apply. It doesn't take the ruling as being disliked. Wallahu a'lam. We can stop there, inshallah ta'ala.
You stop me, Sheikh. I got a
Question.
question. Definitely. Okay. You brought up a point a while ago. You said that you can't fast for a person, and you likewise can't pray for a person.
Right.
How does that differ that a person can make Hajj for a person?
Hajj, number one, you can always pray. The prayer never leaves a person. If you stuck on a bed and can't move, you can pray with your eyes. So a person never has an excuse to not pray. Whereas Hajj is based on ability, right? Hajj is based on ability. What was the other one?
Fasting.
Fasting. Allah Alam. How they enter that in that part? Allah Alam. Allah Alam. They put that in there at the end with the, as far as, in order to clear off the person's debt to Allah. And they didn't have money. They didn't have money to pay. In that case, they don't have to do it. But they say if you want to do it in order to try to free yourself from it, then it's recommended. Allah. That's it. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Oh no, that ain't it. That's not it.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I had another question, Sheikh. I had to look at my phone, if you don't mind.
Please, no, not yet.
This is,
not yet.
don't forget the lecture Saturday. This Saturday, inshallah ta'ala, Sheikh Dr. Tahir Wyatt will be here. Farouk Post, brother we studied with in Mecca, who is a PhD candidate. He's doing his PhD right now. He has his master's in Hadith, and he's doing his PhD now. Myself and Akhuna Ali Davis will be here this Saturday from 4 to 9 here at IMFC, the Imam Muslim Family Center, inshallah.
Don't forget the carpet.
Astaghfirullah.
I knew that was.